Hey, FreightWaves fans and friends, welcome aboard to Hump Day, Wednesday, Tipping Point Day, big day in the logistics industry with the shipping and our weekly cyclical cycle. And today we have a brief quick hitter on the weather and what's happening today around the nation. And then market expert Donny Gilbert is going to talk to us about tender rejections and why, not so much why, but like when carriers go into backhaul markets. What do they do? What are they thinking? How are they trying to plan for where they go next? Because you're losing money typically when you leave that market. So let's begin. Welcome aboard. Again,
hey, Chad.
It's a disruptive time of year, right, with weather, Nick. So
winter is always busy. I know.
Yeah.
But really, today there's only kind of one high impact area in the United States as far as winter weather, and that's along the I-95 corridor, especially for the afternoon and into the evening hours. So particularly from the Boston metro area up into Maine along the I-95
look at this
corridor.
developing situation.
Now, the colors look beautiful on the radar, but when you see that red on there and the purple kind of mixed in, that's bad because that's sleet, freezing rain. That's right. And that's going to be pushing right into close to the Boston area and up along into Maine on the I-95 corridor. So that's going to be the kind of high impact area. There's snow in other spots like the Rockies, but they're used to that. It's nothing unusual. But later tonight, and we'll be talking more about it tomorrow, another high impact, larger scale winter weather storm coming back to the Midwest. They've had a chance to thaw out now for a while across many parts of the Midwest from last week's Arctic outbreak. So another big storm will be coming back with a lot of snow, wind, icy conditions, and we'll be talking more about that tomorrow. But that's going to be all across the Great Lakes area, especially Wisconsin, upper Michigan, those kinds of areas. A lot of wind as well. So more on that tomorrow, but just want folks to kind of be thinking ahead on that, especially fleet managers and drivers for the late night hours. That'll be starting to kind of kick up later tonight.
Okay, thanks. Right. Thanks, Nick. Something to look forward to, a big storm in the Midwest. But stay tuned. We'll give you more details on that because right now we're about what's happening right now with FreightWaves Now, of course. And so right now, though, I-95, watch out for that high population dense areas. Stay safe out there if you're making plans to drive. And now, Donny Gilbert, how you doing?
Doing good, Chad. How are you doing?
Great to have you on. I think this is your fourth appearance on FreightWaves Now.
This is my fourth appearance on FreightWaves. Today, we're going to talk about Denver, Colorado.
Denver! I love Denver.
The highest capital in the U.S.
The highest elevation.
Maybe.
Yeah, Colorado Rocky Mountain High.
All right, so Denver has a population, Chad, of 2.88 million people. That's a lot of people. So there's always a need for freight to support just that population in Denver.
And while I would, it's somewhat central, I know this is more central, but it's somewhat central, almost a gateway, not St. Louis to me, but Denver, kind of a gateway to the west, but yet not a lot of immediate places to go to, right?
It's a hub, but when you take freight to Denver, it's warehouse, stored, and split up. And it supplies your mountainous communities in the Rocky Mountains there to the west of it. A lot of the freight will go up north to Wyoming, Montana, those smaller towns. But the problem is when they get out in these rural areas, there's not much return freight. So you'll have smaller mom and pop carriers take care of the loads that are going out in the 200-300 mile range north and west of Denver. Yeah. And your larger carriers will bring in freight from the other part of the U.S. headed into Denver. The problem with Denver is it's always a backhaul market and rates are always cheap. So why would you go there?
And that is a good question. I would venture to say that maybe drivers like long distance hauls.
They do, and it is a good long distance haul from anywhere.
And Denver's kind of cool. I don't know. What? So you tell me, dude. What? Whoa!
It's the rate. It's the rate going in.
I was gonna say you're gonna have to acquire a high rate to go in. Is it gonna be high enough?
That's the part on the person booking the load. It better be high enough. When you leave Denver, you're going to lose money, and you're going to lose quite a bit of money, and it depends on how far you take that freight outbound. So Denver here, the first two areas that I can look at least I can know that I can break even or get a profit from outer lying areas is probably the Kansas City market.
Yeah.
Or the Dallas-Fort Worth market. So whenever I book something, I'm fairly comfortable if I can get a shorter haul to these markets. I feel very comfortable because I'm going to be losing money for at least 400 to 500 miles.
I'm thinking that by the time you get to here, you what about like going to there?
There are some loads that go to the West Coast, but over here, Salt Lake City.
Yeah.
Salt Lake City is very, very similar to the Denver market.
Okay.
It's also uses a lot of inbound. It also supplies rural areas up in Idaho and western Montana.
Yeah.
And a lot of the freight coming here goes back to the West Coast. A lot of freight from Denver. Some goes to the West Coast, but a lot of it will go back further towards the east.
Are there some carriers that sort of like specialize in like they're situated maybe out here and so they're better positioned to deal with those kinds of markets?
There are carriers that are based out of Denver. A lot of those. They specialize in this market.
Okay.
They probably get the better loads and the better outbound freight to better markets. And then their return loads to get them back in line, they're also getting the higher rates.
Okay.
So,
and you may not know this. I don't want to put you on the spot, but do you know the kinds of stuff that you would almost like export sort of out of Denver, or like what might get you a reasonable rate?
there's still a lot of clothing manufacturing. There is one specific item that I've ran multiple times, and it is also the worst paying load I've ever ran.
What is that?
Beer.
Beer.
Everybody has
Worst
ran.
paying?
Everybody has ran a load of beer out of Denver. They know the market. They know it's a backhaul. They know their buying power, and they can press the rates
as
down
a shipper. Now,
as a shipper.
And sometimes I think people get confused when we refer to shippers. Like shippers, we don't mean like global maritime ships. We mean like and sometimes that's why shippers themselves don't often identify as shippers, because they produce a certain commodity like beer. But so in this case, when we refer to a shipper, like we talk about it's a shipper's paradise. We talk about shipper, being a shipper of choice. Like in this case, beer would be a shipper. So they take advantage of this backhaul market. You're saying?
Yes, and everybody knows the cold beer that comes out of the Rocky Mountains. But mine was
Right.
mine was 64 cents a mile plus fuel,
What?
which was terrible. But it got me to Kansas City, where I was able to make a better profiting load. Now, the golden ticket would be to get a load from Denver straight into Chicago, Indianapolis, the Midwest. That's where you want to put your truck in.
If you're a carrier
If
or
you're a
even an
carrier.
owner-operator, I suppose.
Sure.
Yeah.
There's kind of a 3-step process when you go to a backhaul market. You
Okay.
want to make your money going into the backhaul market.
Yeah.
You're going to lose money coming out of the backhaul market, but you want to put your truck into the third leg, which is another market that is going to be profitable for your carrier. So let's go ahead and pull up some of the numbers here. I want to drop back
Cool.
to early December and look at this section right here.
So we're looking at the outbound tender reject index. You're starting with Denver, so that's the one in white.
Yes.
And what are you cross comparing it with, Donnie?
This is our average outbound tender reject, which is in the white.
Yeah, yeah.
And then the one I want to look at first of all is the one here in green. It is elevated well over 20%.
Which one is that? That's the
That is your mid-haul.
Mid-haul coming out of Denver. Okay,
Yes, your
gotcha.
250 to 450 mile runs.
Okay.
That's not very far outside of
Tell
Denver.
it, if you don't mind, go ahead and just tell us what each of these stand for.
All right, so MTRI, that is your mid-haul range,
Yes,
which is
okay.
250 miles to 450 miles. CTRI, that is your local runs within 100 miles or less. Your TTRI, that is your tweener. That is 450 miles to 800 miles.
Yes.
And LTRI is your long haul, which is 800 miles plus. So,
Okay, that gives us, that's it. So first of all, you wanted to talk about the green. Go ahead. Mid-haul.
here, your mid-haul is highly rejected. People are trying to get loads to get out of Denver, and they want to get to the Midwest. Possibly Dallas, possibly Atlanta, but the Midwest right now is the golden ticket.
And so they are really rejecting
There.
the mid-haul distance because you can't get far enough
Yeah, you need
to get your bang for your buck.
You need to get back to the market where you can be profitable in. And this is not getting you far enough. Down here in your long hauls and your tweener, this is getting you out of the market into an area that you can make money.
Kind of interesting. So I'm thinking, like, what if I'm a beer shipper, or like, what if I'm somewhere like within how many 200 miles of Denver, and I just want to have some beer from Denver. I'm near Denver, but is it hard to get the beer? Strangely enough, because it's being rejected so much, because the truckers and the carriers are rejecting the loads and don't want to go there.
You can get the beer, but once these are rejected, they'll probably go to spot markets, and you'll get your truck at a higher rate.
Wow.
So
that's interesting.
Whatever you pay for, you'll get. Now, as we went on through December and we entered into the area that we're in now, January, everybody kind of knows that right now freight is down, freight is tough. Denver represents 1.2% of the market share for the U.S. So they do have a lot of outbound freight, but it being a backhaul market, the rates are down. So as drivers have been going in, we're looking at rejection rates falling. The highest one that we see is 5.27%. Even the mid-haul has fallen down to 4.33%. Local runs are down to 0. So in the market,
local runs ain't no problem.
Right now there are no problems with local runs.
Yeah.
So right now the market being down, they're accepting any and every type of load they can because they want to keep their trucks moving.
How do these compare to the overall U.S. market right now for tender rejections for outbound?
The entire U.S. market is down, but these numbers I see right here, these are very, very low numbers. This is pretty much telling me that nobody's rejecting anything.
Yeah.
Maybe some of these 2, 3, 4, 5% are rejections because a carrier does not have enough equipment in that area to take the load.
Good point. So you don't have it. This isn't a big spread, right? We're just looking at like December through February.
Yes.
So lest we get too caught up in this, like actually if you it's right down here with everything else. So actually like mid-haul, but like if you're within kind of a radius of Denver right now, say, you're actually not paying very much at all.
Today you're not.
Yeah.
It is all dropped down so tight with so much extra capacity that rates are down. Now, I told you Denver is about a 9.98 on the head haul index, which tell me Denver is showing slightly as a head haul index, but that's not including the surrounding markets moving their trucks into Denver because they don't have freight in the surrounding markets. So you're actually catching a flood of other markets sending their truck to Denver to try to get a load as well. So if you're delivering into Denver on Thursday, you need to start working for your outbound load today.
That is awesome. And the reason that we're looking at Denver in particular is it sort of like a microcosm of other backhaul markets. You're kind of trying if you go to a backhaul market, you're looking for those little nearby connectors, and you're putting that together of like, hey, can I get as much as possible going in? How much can I bear the pain of not getting a good rate coming out, and then where's the next hub I can possibly connect to?
Each backhaul market is slightly different. One point about Denver is the further you get a load out of Denver, the more money that you lose. So you don't want to be too short, but a long haul from Denver to say North Carolina, that might be a little bit too far because you're going to lose money. You're going to lose more money. You hit Atlanta, you've lost a lot of money. And finally to North Carolina, you've lost a ton of money.
Yeah.
And so they want the shorter ones, maybe the 800, 900 miles to get them back in the area that'll be profitable. Which is a little bit.
If you go to North Carolina via Atlanta, I think you might have made some other mistakes.
You might have. But let's say Boston, Massachusetts.
Okay.
All right, Boston's up in the Northeast, about to get by some snow, so that makes sense.
Difficult to get into.
Once you get a load out of there, you want a long haul load would be great for Boston because it gets you out of the Northeast.
Yes.
When carriers run into the Northeast, they want loads to get out of the Northeast because a lot of your loads in the Northeast are 200 to 400 miles. They get you back around the Harrisburg, PA, or New York area, and then all those loads circulate right back into the Northeast. It's like quicksand. Once you get in there, you just can't get out. So it's the lowest paying freight, but most desirable are your long hauls or loads over about 700 miles because they get you all the way out into at least North Carolina. You want to be there by then, or Ohio, or Indiana, and you want to get out of that Northeastern market. So each one is a little bit different when it comes to your tweener, your mid-haul, and your long haul. So love long haul coming out of the Northeast. Coming out of Denver, maybe not so much because you're going to lose a little bit of money.
From a broker's perspective, one last question. From a broker's perspective, like how are they managing these expectations and needs from everyone?
From a broker, you need to know what the carriers are wanting. So if you walk in and you see a load that's going from Denver to Chicago, you need to get that load, because that is going to be a hot load that a carrier is going to want.
Yeah.
If you see a Denver to Albuquerque, New Mexico, you might want to stay away from that one, because Albuquerque, New Mexico, again, is another backhaul market.
Yeah.
When you go to backhaul, you're going to lose money, then you're going to lose more money.
So they're thinking of that
from a carrier want for their drivers.
And how are they thinking about it for, I guess, the shipper, because they have to measure each side of the equation.
When it comes to the relationship between a shipper and a broker is much like the relationship between a shipper and a carrier. The shipper is going to try to push that broker down as far as they can price-wise.
Yes.
So when the broker gets a load, that's why they have to get a very attractive load to a carrier.
Yeah.
Once they get that load and try to flip it to a carrier, they can try to push that carrier down. They just need a few cents a mile to make. Right now in our market today, if they're making $100, they're doing pretty well on a load out of Denver. So if they can take the carrier and push them down 3 or 4 cents a mile, they're going to accept it. Because if they lose the load and don't accept the load, they maybe land the driver over an entire day to the following day. You rather to deliver on Friday, and you can't get you a Friday load out, your drivers don't sit till Monday.
Oh, that's right. And as we know, with the weekly cyclical cycle of trucking, you don't want that.
No, you do not.
And you're not getting paid for those for sitting there for that time.
Arguing over $100, your manager's going to say, take that load. I don't like it, but go ahead and take it. Let's get our driver out there, keep him rolling.
Right. Okay. Well, we're going to keep the FreightWaves Now train rolling each and every day, bringing it to you live with some market analysis and trying to, interpret and analyze our data. Thank you so much, Donny. Fantastic job. Yeah, really interesting stuff. Thinking about, what are all the vested interests, and what are the costs and the reasoning behind some of the decisions that are made each and every day. And we are bringing it to you each and every day. Thanks for tuning in on FreightWaves Now. And, you can find us on FreightWaves.com and on our Twitter channel. Share the love. We'd love to see you time and time again. And stay tuned tomorrow. Our Sultan of Sonar, Zach Strickland, is going to talk to us more about the FreightWaves Futures Roadshow, which is coming to you from Chicago. We're going to be live streaming it if you can't make the event in Chicago, as much of a logistics hub as it is. Hey, you can live stream it and check out what in the world's going on with that. It's really cool, amazing stuff. Trucking is a gigantic industry, ripe for the future's opportunity. So thanks everyone for being here. Stay safe out there, especially if you're driving on I-95, and don't worry, be happy.